So now we've got everybody into our Cleanfeed session. I'll explain what all the buttons do, and then we'll go through slowly to show you what a recording might actually look like when you're doing one for real. You can see we've got me, I'm the person who's hosting the session, and then we've got two readers, Rosemary and Hayden. On the left hand side we've got these green buttons. If I press any of these, I can turn off the microphone of the person who is speaking. Now that is useful for two reasons. Firstly, you might have someone on your session that needs to listen in but shouldn't appear on the recording itself, like maybe an editor. And also it means that you can just have the microphone open of the person who's reading and mute everybody else off to save unwanted background noise during the recording. Now, on the free version of Cleanfeed, it's not possible to adjust people's levels individually. So what we'll need to do is just ask our readers to do a little test reading, and then we might need to help them adjust their microphones. What we're looking at are the level meters by each person's microphone or telephone symbol. We want to make sure they just pop to the top of the green and into the yellow, and that they don't go right to the top of the yellow or even turn things bright red, depending on which system you're on and how loud people are, because that would mean the recording is distorted. So Rosemary, if you could just read the first sentence of your story.
Welcome to edition number 1023.
Lovely, and you could see from that that she was just going into the top of the yellow, so that's absolutely fine. And Hayden?
The residents of any town say they haven't noticed much difference due to the coronavirus outbreak.
Yeah, so that should be fine. So what we're then going to do is have a think about what we need to do during the recording. So firstly, we've got a copy of the script here so that we can follow along and we're prepared for when our readers are going to change stories. And I've also got a stopwatch prepared, because when we start our recording, it's useful to start a timer at the same time, and then if anybody were to make a mistake, we could make a note of what was happening, so that later on when we come to edit it, we know where the mistake was. What we're then going to do is go through slowly, so I'm going to start the record off and we will fill in a file name. So Anytown TN demo, and we want to make sure we are recording everyone. As soon as I press record, we're going to start recording, so I'll also start my timer, and then we're just going to do a very short version first off. So what will happen is I will turn off Hayden's microphone because Rosemary's going to be the first reader, and then I will cue Rosemary in and turn off my microphone. So Rosemary, if you can just do the first story in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to edition number 1023 of the Anytown Talking Newspaper. I'm Rosemary and your other reader is Hayden. Editing was done by Hercules and the sound technician is Jemima. The items you will hear have been taken from the Anytown Daily News. The first story will be read by Hayden.
And then at this point what would happen is that you would open Hayden's microphone and then close off Rosemary's. It's a better practice to open the microphone of the next person and then close the one that you don't need, rather than having everything closed, rather than closing and then opening, because it will just sound better on the recording. But if you forget, don't worry. So then Hayden will go.
The residents of any town say they haven't noticed much difference due to the coronavirus outbreak. The town has just 100 residents, most of whom work at home. We moved here so we didn't have to go into the big city, said John Brown of Market Street. We've been
And I'm just
helping
going
out...
to interrupt that lovely reading that Hayden's doing, because then what would happen is if we were at the end of Hayden's story, we'd then open Rosemary's microphone and close Hayden's, and then off we'd go. And obviously whoever's recording the sound needs to make sure that if they're not reading, they also turn off their microphone so it's not on the recording. The other thing you need to be aware of is over on this side we have a download button. The download button is something that's a good idea to press every so often during the recording, because it will save a copy to your local machine. So that way if something terrible happens during the recording, like you lose your internet connection, then at least you know you've got a copy of what you've done so far. At the end of the recording you need to press that download button again, and then make sure that you've got a copy of the full recording, because that's what you'll be importing into your system to make sure that you can edit it and then produce your final MP3, and we'll go over that in another video. Finally, if you accidentally have an interruption in your connection, or one of your listeners drops out, or by mistake you press this X button here, so I'll just pretend that I've accidentally hung up Hayden. I'll press this button, and then down the bottom you'll see that there's a restore. So if that was a mistake, you can restore them. It might take a quick moment or two, but then Hayden is back in the session. So the main points are: you can turn the microphones on and off by pressing these buttons here. Make sure whoever is reading has got their microphone on. Make sure you're recording, and make sure that you download a copy every so often during your recording, and crucially, when you've finished recording, you can press the record button off and then press download, and then that's the copy we're going to use to edit with. I hope that was useful, and I'll see you in another video.